Hello everyone, thank you for joining us on MNB World News Mongolia, where we bring you the stories and updates from across the nation and beyond. I'm Matserin Namshir. Our top stories for News Mongolia. President of Mongolia receives Prime Minister of Laos. Mongolia will see 5 new railway crossings. With the successful implementation of the uranium project, $1.6 billion will be directly invested. For the news, stay tuned. During a recent state visit by President Khurelsukh of Mongolia to the Lao People's Democratic Republic from November 5th to 7th, 2023, Prime Minister of Laos, Sonxay Siphandone, paid a courtesy call on the visiting president. The two leaders discussed their commitment to expanding mutually beneficial trade and economic cooperation.
President Khurelsukh highlighted the successful official talks with President Thongloun Sisoulith and expressed confidence that the governments of both countries would closely collaborate to implement agreements reached during the visit. Prime Minister Sonxay Siphandone acknowledged the 60-year-long diplomatic relations between the two countries and stressed the significance of the president's visit in shaping the future of their cooperation. Both leaders commended the role of the Mongolian-Laotian Intergovernmental Commission on Trade, Economic, Scientific and Technical Cooperation and the need to enhance concrete cooperation in trade, economy and investment. They also expressed their eagerness to organize a trilateral meeting at the ministerial level for transport between Mongolia, the Lao PDR and China to increase trade turnover and facilitate transportation. This encounter marked a significant step towards deepening bilateral relations and setting the stage for enhanced cooperation in the future.
Mongolia is set to witness a significant boost in its railway infrastructure with the announcement of 5 new railway crossings. The news was unveiled during the second day of the International Forum Transport Mongolia 2023, which focused on strengthening regional transport and logistics connections. Mr. Bemp Tsokt, a member of parliament and the Minister of Road and Transport Development, kick-started the event with a speech outlining the potential for enhancing Mongolia's railway sector. Historically, Mongolia had only one railway line in its 70-year history. However, between 2019 and 2023, the country saw the construction of 905 kilometers of new railways, expanding the railway network to a total of 2,020 kilometers. The growth in railway infrastructure has already had a notable impact on cargo transportation, with 28.2 million tons of goods transported through the Central Railway Corridor in 2019. By 2023, it is anticipated that trial transportation on these new railway lines will commence, targeting a substantial increase to 37.7 million tons of cargo. Additionally, in the first 10 months of 2023, rail transit saw a 39% surge, reaching 3.6 million tons compared to the same period the previous year. One of the key developments supported this growth is a legal reform in the road transport sector initiated by the Mongolian parliament. This legal reform, including amendments to the constitution, signifies a broader commitment to a systemic change and improvements in the country. In July of this year, the approval of the law on railway transportation provided a legal framework to bolster the railway sector, ensuring the safety of transportation and promoting technological advancements. Mongolia's unique geographical location in the region and various internal and external factors make enhancing transport and logistics connections crucial for its participation in global trade, economic networks, and overall economic development. To further these goals, the Transit Mongolia program has been introduced with a focus on facilitating the flow of cargo transport between Asia and Europe and the development of transit infrastructure. The construction of new railways like Artsur-Narinshwait-Shivekhuring and Choibalsyn-Hut-Bichikt is expected to play a strategically vital role in increasing transportation capacity. The expansion of Mongolia's railway system and the associated legal reforms represent significant steps towards promoting economic development, trade, and global connectivity for the country. Mongolia and Orano Mining Company have taken a significant step toward an investment agreement that could bring about substantial economic benefits. The proposed investment is expected to amount to $1.6 billion in direct funding, signifying a major boost for the country's economy. This development holds the potential to significantly impact the landscape of the mining industry in Mongolia.
The project in question centers around the production of uranium yellow powder and encompasses three distinct phases: preparation, production, and rehabilitation. With a planned duration of 47 years, it's a long-term commitment aimed at ensuring the sustainable development of the industry. A noteworthy aspect of this negotiation is the timing of the protocol signing, which coincided with the state visit of French President Emmanuel Macron to Mongolia. The visit not only lent weight to the negotiations, but also underscored the importance of international cooperation in the modern mining sector. The core objective of the agreement is to attract investment from what is often referred to as Mongolia's third neighbor and to create a stable, mutually beneficial working environment. By fostering a collaborative approach, the two parties are seeking to maximize the potential for profit generation while adhering to Mongolia's constitution, which mandates that at least 50% of profits should benefit the country.
One significant facet of this agreement is the flexibility it offers in response to the dynamic nature of the global uranium market. With a mechanism in place for adjustment, mineral royalty payments in the event of rising uranium prices, the deal provides an element of security for both parties. The project's feasibility study, which considered various market conditions, sets the stage for Mongolia to potentially benefit from substantial tax revenue and guaranteed mineral royalty income, contributing an estimated 25% of the overall project profit. Negotiations concerning uranium cooperation were not without their challenges, reflecting the complex nature of international business partnerships. It is notable that the French side demonstrated a willingness to respect Mongolia's constitution and its profit-sharing stipulations, aligning with the principle that a significant portion of the profits should remain within Mongolia.
Given the current global uranium market dynamics, which include a price of $147 per kilogram, the agreement is poised to create a significant economic opportunities for Mongolia. Furthermore, the anticipation of a potential surge in uranium prices in the coming years adds a layer of optimism to this agreement.
Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. King Charles III delivered the state opening of the parliament, outlining the conservative government's pre-election policy agenda. This speech, authored by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's government, introduced plans for stricter penalties for serious crimes and promised elusive economic growth.
Opposition figures and business organizations criticized the speech, deeming it lacking in measures to invigorate a sluggish economy. This address is likely the final one of its kind before a national election and represents Sunak's inaugural opportunity to present substantial legislative plans since assuming office just over a year ago.
My lords and members of the House of Commons, it is mindful of a legacy of service and devotion to this country set by my beloved mother, the late Queen, that I deliver this, the first King's speech in over 70 years. The impact of COVID and the war in Ukraine have created significant long-term challenges for the United Kingdom. That is why my government's priority is to make the difficult but necessary long-term decisions to change this country for the better.
The preceding Parliament session commenced in May 2022 during Boris Johnson's tenure as Prime Minister and Queen Elizabeth II's reign, following his mother's passing in September 2022. After a 70-year rule, King Charles paid homage to my beloved mother at the onset of the first King's speech since 1951.
My government will continue to take action to bring down inflation, to ease the cost of living for families, and help businesses fund new jobs and investment. My ministers will support the Bank of England to return inflation to target by taking responsible decisions on spending and borrowing. These decisions will help household finances, reduce public sector debt, and safeguard the financial security of the country. My ministers will seek to attract record levels of investment in renewable energy sources and reform grid connections, building on the United Kingdom's track record of decarbonising faster than other G7 economies.
The speech also provided insights into the Conservative Party's campaign strategy for an election slated for the end of 2024, although in power since 2010, recent polls indicate the Tories trailing the opposition Labour Party by up to 20 points.
The UN Security Council held a closed-door meeting on Monday at the request of China and the United Arab Emirates on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Representatives of the two member states issued a joint statement calling for an urgent humanitarian ceasefire after the meeting.
Speaking to reporters in the United Nations headquarters in New York City, China's permanent representative to the United Nations, Zhang Jun, said the recent attacks on civilian facilities in the Gaza Strip have worsened the dire humanitarian crisis in the area.
The United Arab Emirates and China called for this meeting to express grave concern at the continued attacks by Israel on hospitals, refugee camps, schools, UN premises, places of worship, and other civilian facilities in the Gaza Strip, including most recently on the Jabalia and El Maghazi refugee camps, El Fakhura School, and the Dar el-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City.
So far, the death toll in Gaza has exceeded 10,000, with over 4,100 being children, according to the latest number reported by the Palestinian Health Ministry in Gaza. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said Monday that a ceasefire is of pressing need with every passing hour as Israeli forces continue to pound Gaza.
As the Secretary General stated this morning, this is a crisis of humanity. In less than a month, more than 10,000 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip have been killed. And as we speak, Palestinian civilians continue to be killed. Children are bearing the brunt. As several UN officials have stated already, Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children. No one is safe more. No one is safe. More UN aid workers and journalists have been killed in 4 weeks than in any month of a conflict in decades. If ever, Palestinian civilians are also deprived of necessities essential to their survival.
The two envoys also condemned all violations of the international humanitarian law and attacks against civilians while demanding the immediate and unconditional release of the held hostages. The two representatives also stressed the need to prevent the spillover of the conflict into Palestine and the Middle East as a whole. They said they support the vision of the two-state solution and are committed to promoting the peaceful coexistence of Palestine and Israel living side by side in accordance with international law and relevant UN resolutions.
In the midst of this catastrophic situation, we emphasize the need for the Security Council to act with urgency and adopt a meaningful and actionable resolution. Over the past couple of weeks, members of the Security Council have been working tirelessly to this end. We call for an urgent humanitarian ceasefire. The Secretary General just made the same call this morning, a humanitarian ceasefire now. This is desperately needed to enable full, rapid, safe, and unhindered humanitarian access, including for UN and humanitarian personnel, consistent with international humanitarian law.
The Chinese envoy also said that China, who assumed the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council for this month, will continue to work with members of the Security Council to promote a ceasefire, protect civilians, and avoid a greater humanitarian disaster, taking the situation in Gaza as primacy and most pressing issue.
The UK's Foreign Secretary James Cleverly and Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa signed a Memorandum of Understanding in Tokyo. This pact aims to increase youth exchange between the two nations by over 500%, reflecting growing collaboration in response to the concerns over China's influence. The signing occurred during a meeting of the G7 foreign ministers in Tokyo.
In a significant move, United Kingdom's Foreign Secretary James Cleverly and Japanese Foreign Minister Yoko Kamikawa formalized their commitment by signing a Memorandum of Understanding in Tokyo. This agreement is founded on the Japan-UK Hiroshima Accord, a landmark understanding brokered between Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak back in May.
The Memorandum of Cooperation on people-to-people exchanges that we are signing today builds on the commitments made by our two Prime Ministers at the historic Hiroshima Accord.
Cleverly emphasized that this cooperative pact is set to substantially elevate the exchange of young individuals between the two nations, projecting a notable increase of over 500%.
And the Sustainable Urban Development Partnership will mean the places that we live will be healthy and beautiful well into the future.
This development reflects a broader trend of heightened collaboration between Japan and Britain, a response to mounting concerns over China's expanding global influence. The ministers' meeting took place on the sidelines of the gathering of foreign ministers from the Group of 7 advanced nations, convened over Tuesday and Wednesday.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for Mongolia and world major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you on Thursday with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.